Okay, so picture this. How do you turn a live cow into a brand new roof for your house without spending a single dollar? It sounds kind of like a riddle, right? But this is actually the absolute oldest economic friction point in human history. Welcome. Today we are going on a really incredible journey, starting from those primitive, neighborly swaps at the dawn of civilization, all the way up to the high-tech, AI-driven bartering networks of 2026.
Let's just jump right into this explainer. We're going to totally reframe how we look at commerce. People usually think of bartering as this primitive precursor to coins and paper money, just something folks did in the Dark Ages before they figured out a better way. But as we dig into the data, we're going to see how the direct exchange of goods and services has actually evolved into a highly sophisticated, globally significant economic tool. It's used by literally everyone, from local survivalists to massive high-tech corporate strategists.
Here's the game plan for today. We're hitting the double coincidence of wants, the red paperclip legend, those three modern archetypes, the wild AI swaps coming in 2026, and finally, the reality of taxes, pros and cons. Let's get into it.
All right, kicking things off with part one, the double coincidence of wants, or basically, the friction of trade. So the core issue here, the real friction, is what economists call the double coincidence of wants. For any barter to actually work, you have to satisfy this incredibly specific condition. Think back to that cow riddle we just talked about. You've got a cow, but you want bread. You go to the baker, but wait, the baker already has a ton of cows. What he actually needs right now is a new roof. Because neither of you possesses exactly what the other desires, the trade just freezes. You're entirely stuck without that double coincidence. It's wildly inefficient, and honestly, it's exactly why humanity eventually had to invent currency as a universal medium. Now you'd think, okay, we invented money, so bartering is ancient history, right? Nope. The data tells a totally different story. It's this undeniable behavioral loop. Whenever currency gets super unstable, like during periods of extreme hyperinflation, or when money completely dries up in a crushing recession, we don't just throw our hands up and give up. We instantly revert right back to bartering. It's our ultimate economic safety net, completely hardwired into our survival instincts. When the artificial construct of money breaks down, the tangible, real-world value of goods and services is literally all we have left to rely on.
Moving on to Section 2. Let's talk about the red paperclip legend. This is the ultimate proof of concept for trade.
If you haven't heard this story from 2006, it is absolutely wild. This guy, Kyle McDonald, starts with literally a single, practically worthless red paperclip. And he doesn't sell it, he trades it. He finds a guy who values that paperclip slightly more than a fish-shaped pen. Then, he swaps the pen for a doorknob, the doorknob for a camp stove, you get the idea. Over the course of just a year, he made 14 successive trades, ultimately trading a movie roll for a 2-story farmhouse. No way, right? But it remains the absolute ultimate proof of subjective valuation. The whole concept that value isn't just some fixed dollar amount, but exactly what a specific person is willing to trade for at a specific moment in time.
All right, Section 3, modern archetypes. We're zooming out to look at the 3 distinct levels of trade.
So, jumping into 2026, bartering is structurally operating on 3 massive levels worldwide. First up, you've got the local or survival level. Think neighborhood swaps in social media marketplaces. Trading your backyard eggs for local honey, or maybe a web designer building a site for a dentist to cover the cost of a root canal. The whole driver here is building community trust and just holding on to your precious cash when inflation is running hot. Conversely, you flip over to corporate barter. Thousands of businesses are using formal barter exchanges with digital barter dollars. Say a hotel has empty rooms, which, by the way, is totally wasted perishable inventory. They sell those rooms on the exchange for trade credits. Then they turn around and use those credits to buy office cleaning or marketing. They're cleverly paying for services using their own wholesale cost instead of laying out retail cash. It's brilliant.
And that scales all the way up to the biggest level imaginable, global counter-trade. We are talking high-stakes geopolitics here. Entire countries will completely bypass the traditional global currency system, a lot of times to sidestep severe international sanctions or debilitating currency shortages. Our sources specifically point to these huge 2026 oil for infrastructure deals. You've got nations like Iran or Venezuela literally trading millions of barrels of raw crude oil straight to construction giants in exchange for brand new high-speed rail lines. Not a single dollar changes hands, just massive, multi-billion-dollar physical assets moving across borders. It's macro-scale bartering, solving that ancient double coincidence of wants on a global level.
Which brings us to Section 4,
2026 AI swaps and multi-party routing.
This is where technology completely rewrites the rules. AI matching algorithms have finally actually solved that double coincidence problem we talked about earlier. You don't have to wander around looking for the exact right person who has what you want and wants what you have anymore. Instead, digital barter apps instantly calculate these immensely complex routing paths. Let's say you have a bike, but you want a guitar. The AI says, okay, give your bike to person A. Person A then hands a laptop to person B, and person B hands the guitar over to you. The algorithm acts like a giant puzzle solver, connecting the fragmented wants of the entire network into a closed, seamless digital daisy chain. It completely unlocks the value of everyone's items without a single dollar being spent. This is absolutely the cutting edge of trade.
And finally, Section 5. We need to talk about taxes, pros, and cons. Let's do a quick reality check on the system.
Because look, before you go trading away everything you own, we need to clear up a massive, incredibly common misconception. A lot of people think bartering is some sort of genius, tax-free loophole. I'm here to tell you it is absolutely not. In the US, and honestly in many other jurisdictions, the IRS looks at bartering straight up as taxable income. So, if you're a plumber and you trade a $500 pipe repair service to a mechanic for $500 worth of car repairs, you don't get to just walk away clean. You are legally required to report that $500 as income at its fair market value on your taxes. Yeah, you literally have to pay taxes on money you never actually held in your hands.
So what's the actual day-to-day reality here? Let's weigh the benefits versus the drawbacks. First up, cash flow. The obvious win is that it saves your liquid cash for things you literally can't barter for, like your mortgage or paying down debt. But the downside? Unless you're using one of those fancy AI apps, finding that exact match is tough. Second, inventory. You brilliantly turn dead stock or empty schedule time into real value. But on the flip side, there are zero consumer protections. If you trade for a dud item, there are no refunds in a barter. Finally, flexibility. Everything is beautifully negotiable based on mutual value. The drawback, though, is that valuation is incredibly subjective. Trying to agree on whether your perfectly healthy goat is actually worth your neighbor's flat-screen TV, yeah, that can be a massive headache.
We have covered an incredible amount of ground in this explainer today. We saw how the pure frustration of not finding a trade births money, how hyperinflation forces us right back to our roots, and how one little red paperclip can literally turn into a house. Not to mention nations trading oil for trains and AI completely revolutionizing how we swap in 2026. So, knowing all of this and seeing how completely value can be unlocked without using cash, I want you to ask yourself one final question. What dead stock, whether it's an old item sitting in your closet right now or a professional skill you possess, do you have sitting around that could be traded today?